Tonight, a grisly discovery in Deer Lake when first responders showed up to the scene of a shed fire. That story and
with the amount of families' ability to pay decreasing and the cost of food increasing, it was a bit of a double-edged sword.
At least when they know they come here, they know they're going to get their meal.
The School Lunch Association has been lobbying Ottawa for years. Why this province was the first to sign up for new federal funding.
What I believe are some of the boldest and most progressive changes to our Crown Lands administration system in what may be decades.
Controversy over Crown land. There could be a light at the end of the tunnel for land claim disputes.
Some people, they're not welcome in other places, but here they are welcome.
What we're trying to do at Bison is to create a new vision for Bell Island.
Offering mental health and addiction support using a different sort of strategy. We head to Wabana to visit The Hug.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin tonight in Deer Lake, where emergency crews made a grim discovery over the weekend, a body found inside a burning shed. Police say they were called to a shed fire on Middle Road around lunchtime on Sunday. A man who lived at the house was unaccounted for and was believed to be inside the shed. When the fire was extinguished, the remains of a man were discovered inside. The RCMP is asking anyone with information or surveillance footage to get in touch. Police are treating the death as suspicious until proven otherwise. Just 2 weeks ago, a body was found inside a burned-out truck in Bay Roberts. 3 people were charged with murder in that case, but police say they do not believe the Deer Lake incident is in any way connected. An Air Borealis passenger was arrested for unruly behavior on Sunday. The incident happened during an afternoon flight to Nain. Nain RCMP received a report of a passenger who was allegedly intoxicated and had assaulted 2 people, including a pilot, during the flight. A 32-year-old Happy Valley Goose Bay woman now faces several charges, including assault and endangering the safety of an aircraft. Well, changes may soon be coming to legislation that has long created controversy over Crown land. It's an ongoing issue we've been following on Here and Now. Confusion over who actually owns a parcel of land, the people living on it or the province. Our Mark Quinn has this update.
Some of the boldest and most progressive changes to our Crown Lands administration system in what may be decades.
The minister says these changes won't solve everyone's land dispute, but he expects they will help many people.
No one will have to pay full market value for Crown land, for land owned by the Crown and land that they built their house on in good faith and in good measure, thinking it would be theirs. A senior who's in receipt of the GIS, the Guaranteed Income Supplement, will pay nothing except for standard processing fees of an application. Someone of greater income capacity will pay on a sliding scale. No one, regardless of income, will pay full market value.
Burns says government will make it easier to claim squatters' rights. If passed, one amendment will reduce the period of time that a person must show they've been living on Crown land from a 20-year period to a 10-year period.
Currently, it is a requirement for open, notorious, consecutive, and exclusive occupation between 1957 and 77. We will reduce that to 1967 to 77.
Many land disputes end up in court. It can cost someone tens of thousands of dollars to challenge a government decision. Burns says the Liberal government aims to establish an independent body to hear appeals that will cost much less than going to court.
And instead of paying $40,000 to $60,000 for a trial in quieting of titles, the application for appeal will be $500. And if the applicant is successful in having the denial overturned at appeal, that $500 will be refunded in full.
Burns says the Liberal government will introduce these changes this fall during the next session of the House of Assembly. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the PC opposition is criticizing a lack of progress on pay equity regulations in the province. That's in reaction to a story we brought you last week. The PC critic for women and gender equality, Helen Conway-Ottenheimer, is questioning government's commitment to the issue. The province passed pay equity legislation in 2022 and promised to finalize regulations by the end of last year, but has yet to act.
It makes one wonder, how important is this to the government? Is this a priority? When we see this lack of action and this lack of engagement, not only with respect to the regulations, we have no information, but also when we hear the pleas from the advocacy groups who want to know what's happening with respect to whether this is even going to happen.
Now, Conway-Ottenheimer pointed out that currently, for every dollar a man makes, a woman in the same position still earns only 66 cents, something she calls a serious wage gap. Well, in other news, the province's School Lunch Association is banking on a big investment from Ottawa to keep up with a growing need. It follows a pay-what-you-can model, serving up nearly 7,000 meals a day to hungry students. Newfoundland and Labrador is the first to sign up for a national school program. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson has more.
This charity has helped feed students for decades, but lunches like these can now be enjoyed by more children in Newfoundland thanks to a new school food program deal announced by the federal government in the spring.
We're working closely with the province right now and looking at, high socioeconomic needs, areas where there is a huge demand for a program.
The deal works, kind of like with affordable childcare, when the provinces sign on, something only Newfoundland and Labrador has done so far. But in places where that hasn't happened, like in Ontario, home to 40% of Canada's school children, the holdup is excruciating for families and advocates like Jessica Stevenson.
The time is now.
This school food program in the Niagara region was hit with what Stevenson calls the perfect storm: soaring prices of food, more families needing help feeding their kids, and increased population in the area.
About a year or so ago, we were forced to shut down 13 programs 3 months early. And so that's 13 schools worth of children that didn't have food in their bellies.
But experts expect more provincial deals will be signed soon, many before winter, and the benefits will be felt for generations to come.
School food is not that expensive in the scope of things compared to roads, compared to so many things. And what governments all around the world are realizing is that it is one of their wisest investments, long term.
An investment to the tune of $1 billion over 5 years divided across provinces to help make sure lunches like this one.
Today we got macaroni and cheese, mixed vegetables, garlic bread, and fruit.
Get to fill more bellies and fuel more young minds. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, stigma surrounding mental health and addictions is a problem for those seeking recovery on Bell Island, but there's a new support center that's hoping to change that. Here Now's Abby Cole has more.
There's a group on Bell Island helping people overcome addictions, but it's not a rehab.
So we're on Bell Island. This place is called The Hug. It's a drop-in center and a peer support center for people who want to abandon or reduce their use of drugs, and we accompany them on their recovery journey. We do a couple of things. One is we call harm reduction, which is if you're still using, and we want to make sure that you're not putting your life at risk. So we're going to give you clean needles, naloxone kits in case of overdoses. We talk to you and try to encourage you to go on your road to recovery. So that would be our harm reduction programs. And our peer support programs is once you've decided that you want to go on the road to recovery, maybe you've lost your driver's license, maybe you've incurred some debts, maybe you don't have a place to live. So we'll help you figure things out. So we've done all kinds of things for our clients, including finding them an apartment and, as I said, getting their driver's license back, etc.
It's drop-in. Like I said, anybody's welcome. It could be just for a cup of tea, because I know a lot of people, they share a lot of the same issues with social anxiety, but they eventually do come in, have a cup of tea, ask a few questions. We finally sit down together and discuss, you know, what's happening, what's going on in their lives, and just make them feel comfortable.
But it's not just a listening ear. Clients at the Hug also make art, make soap, and bake. And what they create goes to retailers in St. John's.
We want people to come here and feel safe in a non-judgmental environment, make them feel at home. Because, you know, some people, they're not welcome in other places, but here they are welcome, no matter what's going on with them.
I make soap, I bake, I paint, I pretty much do just about everything that's on the go here. I was a drug addict for just about half my life, and I'm currently in recovery, and I'm doing really well right now, and yeah.
The Bell Island Support Network isn't finished. It wants to create more opportunities for the community and end the stigma around mental health and addictions.
So what we're trying to do at Bison is to create a new vision for Bell Island. What is possible here? What are the opportunities? What are the resources that are available to be tapped here?
The group is largely funded by the provincial and federal governments. Now it's hoping Ottawa will see the vision and step in with more money. All to help make their dream of a prosperous Bell Island come true. Abby Cole, CBC News, Bell Island.
Well, now to some sports news. Team Gushue is getting a new player. Former Alberta skip Brendan Botcher is signing on as second. Team Gushue announced it was in search of a new player on Thursday evening and announced Botcher this morning. His resume certainly stacks up. He won the 2021 Brier and has been a finalist in 4 Briers, losing to Gushue in 2 of the competitions. Last year, he focused on mixed doubles, temporarily leaving the 4-person game. But that change gave him some sweeping experience, which will benefit his new role as second.
I feel he's one of the top 5 or 10 shot makers in the world. We've seen him make a lot of incredible shots against us over the years, so to have him on our side and hopefully making them for us is going to be a real benefit.
I think a little bit of me coming from the skip position is a bit of the value that I can bring. So a bit of the ice reading, a bit of the strategy, shot selection, just a little bit of the been there piece of it. But I also think that from a shot making standpoint, all the way up the lineup, really at this point, you need all the members of the team to have all the shots. That's just how good the game's gotten here in the last couple of years.
And that's how it ended for the Women's Holy Cross Football Club. The team had been trying to win its 3rd national title in a row, but fell a little short in BC, finishing 4th in the Jubilee tournament. On the men's side, Holy Cross also represented the province and finished 8th. In the girls' under-17 tournament, the St. John's team ended the weekend in 11th place. For the under-17 boys, the club from Conception Bay South landed in the 10th spot for the tournament. And in the under-15 girls' event, the squad from Paradise took 8th place, while the boys, the team from St. John's, closed out the tournament in 12th place.
Productivity skyrocketing, absolutely. We're very confident and happy that what we did was right.
A school in Corner Brook is dialing in its own cell phone ban. Tomorrow on Here and Now, we'll find out how it's working and if there are any hang-ups.
Farmers Market Gander Grow Co. is hoping to expand and offer a year-round operation in a new building.
Modeling after St. John's Farmers Market, but not having the population to support it, of course, we need to get creative.
Well, that story tonight on Here and Now.
Well, I'm filling in for the weather this week for Ashley. There's a lot of rain in the forecast and including a little bit of snow as well with this weather watch and warning. I'll tell you all about it coming up after the break.
In our 60th season, one of Land & Sea's first hosts looks back on the early days. Watch Dave Quinton Remembers, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, a bi-weekly seasonal farmers market in Gander wants to harvest even more homegrown goods for people in the region. Here now's Troy Turner has that story.
Here at Cobb's Pond, Gander Grow Co. has an idea. Move away from a seasonal bi-weekly market to a full-time operation. It's a build it and they will grow it idea.
The big vision is to have our own building. It would be a community space where other nonprofits would use the space as well for their own purposes. It would have a co-working space. It would be somewhere where people could use a commercial kitchen, other cultures, multicultural space.
Gander Grow Co. uses this town building for its market. If it's planted, baked, and made by hand, it's for sale.
It's good for the community. It's good for the economics of the area and everything, because there's, when you're buying something, it's going right back locally, kind of thing.
Living Water is a regular market attraction. Jared Oglin took over the business in 2022.
While it is important for the farmers, I think it's more important for the people in the communities to have this accessibility to this food and know where this food is coming from and who they can contact if there's a specific need of something that they want, as opposed to relying on the grocery stores, which rely on the ferry system, which is reliant on the weather. And we all know that the weather isn't exactly cooperative 100% of the time.
Gander Grow Co. takes inspiration out of successful markets in St. John's and Clarenville. But a successful market just doesn't grow out of nowhere.
We all are volunteers, we all have full-time jobs outside of this, so it takes a lot of extra time, but we're all very passionate about growing it, so if people are interested in coming to help out, we are all ears for new volunteers.
Modeling after St. John's Farmers Market, but not having the population to support it, of course, we need to get creative about how we can pay for the overhead of the building that we're trying to build, and so that we have the space to support the community like we want to do.
What's needed before any of those plans to come to fruition is local support. Now.
If they want to have a big market with like 30 vendors and this big community feel, you need to support it while it's small. So we can't grow to a large market until we have a lot of support for a small market first.
Gander Grow Co. is working with a consultant on sustainability and marketing studies. If all goes to plan, come spring, they will have a new building and be open year-round. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
Well, Jason Edmonds of Natwishish is being awarded for inspiring the next generation of Inuit youth.
I started working with Southern organizations that were working in the Arctic. You start to see how little Inuit are involved, and if they are involved, it's not overly in the leadership positions.
Well, that's Edmonds speaking with CBC back in April. The entrepreneur won this year's Next Wave Leadership Award that's given to young professionals who inspire others to pursue careers in the marine sector. He says it's all about sharing, not just knowledge from the mind, but also knowledge from the heart. Edmonds works as director and expedition leader with Adventure Canada's cruise ships. Edmonds also founded a training program educating Inuit candidates from Nunavut to work in the marine industry. Congratulations.
This made a pile of sense for me, and I'm just excited to join the guys and start working.
From rivals to teammates, a major personnel change on Team Gushue might make for a big shift in curling. We'll hear more from Brendan Botcher. That's the team's new second coming up. And you're looking at a live shot of a very dark St. John's Harbor from our room's camera. A bit of a turbulent weather day here on the Avalon for sure. We had showers 1 minute, sun the next, and then another downpour. Stay with us. More local news and weather is on the way, including Jeremy's forecast. Well, Jeremy, nice to see you filling in for Ashley. You're a man of many talents. You were in for me last week, and this week you're filling in for Ashley for the weather. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. Those are my two talents, filling in for Carolyn, filling in for Ashley. Not doing either well, but it's always a pleasure to be back here filling in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the weather, like you were saying earlier, the weather was weird. You and I were both out about the same time this afternoon. And what did you say when you got back into the office?
It was bizarre. It was really warm outside, and then it was sunny, and then it was raining. It was a very strange day.
It was, and that was pretty much the case, not only here on the Avalon, but all across the province. I'm just going to step back because there is a watch and warning in place. As you can see it in gray there, if this works, and we all know how good I am with this technology. There we go. Look at that zoom in. That took me like 20 minutes. All right, so there's this weather watching in place from Environment Canada. This is because it's the first significant snowfall of the year here. Now it's between Eagle River and Churchill Falls along the Trans-Labrador Highway. They have already gotten, according to Environment Canada, 5 to 10 centimeters of snow, and they're expected to continue to snow into the morning. So the reason that this watch is in place is people who are driving that neck of the woods there around Eagle River or towards Churchill Falls, just to be mindful there on the highways. But I have a sinking suspicion if you've ever driven the Trans-Labrador Highway, you know how to drive it in the winter. When I lived in Labrador, it was a dirt road. That was something we did for fun, drive to see how much had been paved back in 2010. Anyways, enough about me. So tonight, the wet weather will continue almost all across the province. It's going to be rainy, but as we were just talking about, it's going to be warm here in St. John's and the Avalon and almost into Central, and then it just gets a little bit chillier. But if you make your way up towards Cartwright and even into Nain and Labrador City, you can see those flurry icons falling. There's a little bit of snow that's going to fall in Labrador, but not a lot. I think Labrador, if I remember correctly, it's going to be 2 millimeters of rain, and that could turn into snow as well. But no real big accumulation, except for along that stretch between Churchill Falls and Eagle River that we just talked about. But let's move on. And this is the system. So as you can see, this province not looking great there. But as Tuesday sort of gives away into Wednesday overnight there, you can see the snow covering the blue and the gray over Labrador, not great. And then you can see that weather system moving in over the western part of the island. And that's going to bring a lot of rain from Port aux Basques all the way up into Cartwright, more or less, for lack of a better word. But then you can slowly see that it moves on Thursday. So the week is going to get better. It's going to start wet. And it's going to warm up. So we're going to see a lot of wet weather all across the province, a little bit of flurries in Labrador as well. But tomorrow, what we're looking at, we're going to see some sun showers, a lot of sun showers, but you're expected to see more showers than sun, as you can see there, double-digit temperatures as we make our way into Central. And it's the same thing. Twillingate will see about 2 millimeters. Harbour Breton should see about 2 millimeters of rain tomorrow. But then, as I was saying earlier, as we move to the west coast, southwest coast, not much rain there in Burgeo, but Port aux Basques, Stephenville, Corner Brook, Gros Morne, you're looking at 5 to 10 millimeters. In Corner Brook and Gros Morne, that could be as much as 15, as higher in higher terrains. That's what I'm trying to say. And then, like I was saying, along the straits, so Mary's Harbour, Cartwright, you're looking at 5 to 10 millimeters as well. And then you can see that green gives way to the white there in Labrador. Makkovik and Nain, you'll see a little bit of flurry action happening, but no real accumulation. And then Churchill Falls, you'll see a bit of snow, and the same thing in Labrador City as well. So this is all going to be sort of, obviously it's October. What do you expect? It's not going to be warm all the time, okay? It's almost Halloween. But as you can see, basically almost double digits, single digits as you move west, and then further off into Labrador, it gets a little bit colder. Now, overnight in Labrador City, if the wind chill kicks in, it's going to be -7. Again, that's nothing that you're not used to living up in Labrador West, but that's going to be the coldest. So we're starting to see those colder temperatures come across, but it is going to warm up as the week goes on. So as this look ahead, as we move in, we'll get further into this later in the forecast. As we go Thursday into Friday, that system is going to come down through Labrador. It's going to cut across, and then things are going to clear up. And into Thursday, you can see the sunshine coming out in Cartwright and the Straits and into Nain. And it is going to get warmer. The temperatures are going to hit the double digits. It's going to be a better end of the week. You just got to deal with the rain this part of the week. And I'll be back to tell you more about that later on the show. Carolyn?
Great. Thanks so much, Jeremy. Well, big news in the curling world. Team Gushue has found a new second in former skip Brendan Bottcher in Edmonton. The surprise hiring has made waves in curling circles across the country. The former rivals will now be teammates heading into this curling season. Joining me now are Brad Gushue in St. John's and Brendan Bottcher in Edmonton. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Brad, I'll start with you. This is a big change. How did this new relationship come about?
You know what? Brendan and I have been talking for months, and obviously we've known each other for years. And when we decided to make the switch on our team last week, reached out to Brendan later that night or the next day, and we started to have some conversations. And obviously there's a lot of things you have to go through before you finalize a decision. But once we started engaging Mark and Jeff and our coach, Jeff Hofford, all the conversations went really well. And any of the concerns that we have with Brendan being a skip and coming into the second stone, we're alleviated. We know there's going to be some challenges that we'll have to work through, but you have to do that with any new player. And we're certainly excited about bringing a player of Brendan's caliber onto our team, and to have him throw in second stone for us with the success he's had as a skip, I think is going to be great for us. And it's another person I can rely on for some feedback and for some ice reading. So there's a lot of benefits to having a player of Brendan's caliber on our team.
Yeah, what makes Brendan such a good fit for the team?
Well, I think there's two things that I would identify as key pieces on why we wanted to bring Brendan on board. And one was, I feel he's one of the top 5 or 10 shot makers in the world. We've seen him make a lot of incredible shots against us over the years. So to have him on our side and hopefully making them for us is going to be a real benefit. The other side is where he lives, and living in Edmonton right now. That's where Jeff Walker has been living for a number of years, and our coach Jeff Hofford is also located. So the opportunity for us to kind of have two hubs here in St. John's and in Edmonton was a benefit.
Many people seemed surprised by this move. What kind of reaction have you been getting, Brad? What have people been saying to you about it?
I think the people that we relied on for this information and this decision, our mentors, our advisors, our supporters, are all 100% behind it. I think for, the casual fan or even the intense curling fan that supported our team for a number of years, it's probably a bit of a surprise because, Brendan was a rival of ours for a number of years and competing against him and obviously playing the skip position too. Probably a lot of people assumed that he wouldn't jump into the second stone, but a mentor of mine, Toby McDonald, said he remembered a skinny skip that turned into a pretty good second back in the day, and or a pretty good sweeper back in the day. And I said that to Brendan when we started to have the discussions. Like, I have a lot of confidence in his ability to take on that role. And we don't expect him to be the best sweeper in the world, but certainly I think he's fit. He knows the game. He's a tall guy. He's going to be more than capable of doing that. And with his shot making ability, it's just going to give us a lot of tools that we could use going forward.
So Brendan, Brad had some really nice things to say about you just then, but why did you choose to join Team Gushue?
Brad and the guys are exceptional. I would echo a lot of what Brad said. We've been fierce competitors, rivals, and I've seen the absolute best that team has to offer, and it's pretty incredible. And the opportunity arose for me to become a part of that. And I also had some confidence in people I trust and I reached out to, and they were also pretty unanimous. This made a pile of sense for me, and I'm just excited to join the guys and start working.
Mm-hmm. And Brad mentioned, how big of a change this is for you, not just in the team, but in the position that you'll be playing. How do you go from being the skip to being the second?
Well, I think a little bit of me coming from the skip position is a bit of the value that I can bring. So a bit of the ice reading, a bit of the strategy, shot selection, just a little bit of the been there piece of it. So I've been picking up on some sweeping training even from a few months ago for that, and certainly a continuation. So a lot of good off ice work to get as strong as I can. And then, Brad mentioned something I think that's pretty important is that, having Jeff and Jeff Hofford, our coach here out in Edmonton, I think we'll be able to create a pretty cool ecosystem out here. And the three of us will be able to practice. And certainly having my new front end partner, Jeff, out here, I think we'll be able to put in a lot of meaningful reps in practice and hopefully be as prepared as we can.
Yeah, and I guess that'll help a lot, not just with the training aspect of it, but also just team building in general.
Absolutely. And I have played against these guys for many years, and they're excellent people on the ice, off the ice. I'm just looking forward to being a part of the team and hopefully being a part of a pile of success together.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of people talking about the Olympics in 2026. Is this kind of like a bold strategy for you to find your way back to the podium in Italy again?
Yeah, I think ultimately any team at our level or near our level is aspiring to get to the Olympics and to win a gold medal, and we're no different. We want to get there. That's the goal of this team, and we feel this change in bringing on Brendan provides us the best opportunity to do that. I think his ability as a shooter is going to be huge for our team and create a whole lot of opportunities for us on a strategy standpoint. His experience playing in big games is going to be beneficial. So, we're not taking in a new player that has to learn how to adapt to the playing in front of the TV lights and big crowds. Brendan's been there before, been successful, and we expect him to hit the ground running with us.
Well, I'm sure Team Gushue fans and curling fans are going to be really excited to see how this all plays out, literally. Brad Gushue and Brendan Botcher, thank you so much for this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's return now to a story we brought you a little earlier about the province's school lunch program and the hope that new federal funding will come through. CBC recently went behind the scenes at one St. John's school to learn more.
Oh!
Miss Debbie is currently cooking in a kitchen that is approximately 12 feet by 10 feet, be about the size of a kitchen in a small apartment, and she has one stove, 2 fridges, and she's preparing 151 nutritious meals today. The School Lunch Association is a registered charity that's been operating in Newfoundland and Labrador for 35 years. It's actually the longest running charitable school food program in the entire country. In 1989, the program was founded in one school in the center city, and today we actually operate in 43 schools. We operate a pay-what-you-can model. All of the funds derived from the sale of children's meals go back into funding our operation. And our pay-what-you-can model allows our program to be non-stigmatizing.
I serve anywhere between 140 to 180 kids some days, and I usually come in around 7:30, 7:45, because you got to come in, you got to put your pots on, you got to cut up your vegetables, you got to do fruit. Today we got macaroni and cheese, mixed vegetables, garlic bread, and fruit. But now my most popular days are pizza day, pancake day. Mac and cheese is a big hit too. At school lunch, we have a nutritionist that looks over the menus and makes sure that everything is healthy for the children to eat. So they've got to go by guidelines too. They just can't like put cookies or cake or anything, because that don't go by Canada's food guide. The menus go home, so the parents pick and choose what the child wants. Usually they pick everything, and they experiment with it. They say, oh my God, Miss Debbie, that's delicious. 1, 2, 3, 3 more. It's a struggle. I know there's a lot of parents out there that have children, and sometimes they can't maybe not be able to afford it. So at least when they know they come here, they know they're going to get their meal. But there's so much behind the scene. There's a lot of fundraisers. There's a lot of donations and everything to try to help raise money for school lunch so every child can be fed every day. Miss, are you with him today?
The price of food, as well as a family's ability to pay, has been our biggest challenge. So essentially what you have is, we had a double-edged sword. We had the cost of food was soaring the last number of years with inflation, and then because we operate a pay-what-you-can model, we expect families to pay a certain amount each day if they can, and with the amount of families' ability to pay decreasing and the cost of food increasing, it was a bit of a double-edged sword. We've been lobbying with the federal government for years for this funding. Essentially, Newfoundland and Labrador, we've been leading the way. It's great that we were the first province to sign. I do suspect you'll see a number of provinces sign on very quickly, which is an investment in our future. Infrastructure needs, in particular, in many schools, you can imagine buildings that were built 50 years ago may not have, proper ventilation or commercial coolers, this type of thing. But it will also allow us to expand to areas in need.
Wait now, move back behind the door.
Now the bell's going to ring any moment, and there's some children that are going to be like running and sprinting to get their lunch, because it may actually be the only meal that they may have today. So it's extremely rewarding just to see the children and its impact. When the bell rings and you have to serve a couple hundred children and you only have 45 minutes to do it, you're going to need helpers. So students volunteer in all of our programs.
I've always wanted to work with her because she's a big chef.
Yeah,
She's the best chef.
She's the best chef.
And I like helping out.
Yeah?
To me, she's a 5-star chef.
I like helping Miss Debbie. She's a nice person. I just give out drinks and I serve hot lunch. It makes me feel good because they always look so happy. So some of the little kids say, hi, I'm so happy to see you. How's your day going so far?
Yes, bestie.
It's tremendous and great news that the federal government and the province of Newfoundland and Labrador have signed the historic first agreement for a national school food program. But a program such as ours is only going to be sustainable as long as families and others continue to contribute towards it.
Well, we ran into some technical issues on Friday and only shared part of this next story with you. There's a new music venue in St. John's that isn't catering to the typical downtown clientele, and it's worth the watch, so we're going to give Second Stage a second play.
St. John's has a killer music scene, but if you're under 19, it can be hard to find a space to practice with your bands or to play shows. That's why Ryan Thornhill opened a new all-ages music venue here on Water Street.
It's quite the space we've got going, and we're only going to build it up from here, kind of thing.
Ryan Thornhill knows how hard it is to make it in the music scene. He hopes this new venue will help anyone who wants to start a band.
Being in a band myself with a lot of the younger musicians that have recently started playing in bars and stuff like that comes from being a door guy for several years. But that led to me meeting a lot of the younger musicians in St. John's, and on that discovered the massive need for a practice space as well as a stable and safe spot to have all ages shows.
And young musicians know how hard it is to get those all-ages shows on the go.
You're emailing churches, you're emailing community centers, and like, my God, to get a response is like impossible. So this is what we've been waiting for sure.
Yeah, it's like if you don't have like a venue yourself, like generally it's like a 20% chance of happening. And I don't know, it is like a blessing to have a place like this in our scene.
In Newfoundland and Labrador, most bands play in bars. Underage musicians can play those gigs, but the Liquor Corporation rules are tight. Young musicians have to be supervised, have written permission from mom and dad, and they have to leave the bar as soon as they're done playing.
Yeah, it can just be hard to like find places, but I mean, they'll take you, but like maybe not after 10 p.m. and stuff like that, and then you're getting kicked out and you can't see bands you like.
Yeah, and like bar shows, like playing at bars or like going to bars, usually just like surrounded by like alcohol and like that kind of environment usually just kind of sucks. So it's nice to have this venue as opposed to a bar or something like that.
The bar here is stocked with soda and snacks. Every guest is checked at the door, and C-Sex Sinclair says the hardcore community loves the idea of a dry venue.
None of us want to drink. We just want to party, listen to music.
There's plenty of room for dancing, hanging out, and moshing. Second Stage has already had a few shows, with more on the way.
Everybody seems to think that it's well needed for the city, and I mean it does make a good spot for that. Like people can go hang out and catch a show and not have to worry about all the stuff that comes with going to the nightlife here, as it were, you know.
As more young people enter the music scene in St. John's, dry spaces like this keep them safe and keep them rocking out. Maddie Ryan, CBC News, St. John's.
Org.
Well, American voters are 3 weeks away from Election Day, and back in January, one of our own reporters, Katie Nicholson, was swarmed by Trump supporters while reporting from the Capitol. Nearly 4 years later, she's tracked one of them down.
Whether or not. So that's me on January 6, 2021. After that group of Trump supporters swarmed us that day and the network had to cut away, I've wondered who they were and what their thinking is now, especially now heading into another U.S. election. So I tracked one of them down.
Her name is Tracy Danka, and she invited me to her home in Calabash, North Carolina. Turns out she still believes the 2020 election was stolen, despite more than 60 unsuccessful court challenges. And Trump's own election officials saying it was the most secure election in U.S. history.
You still have doubt?
Yeah, I still have doubt.
That may not be that surprising. A MAGA supporter believing Donald Trump's big lie about a stolen election. But what was surprising was that among her Trump flags, she had a Harris Walls banner on her front lawn.
Well, let me tell you, the only reason why there's a Harris is because I ordered that for my husband.
That's right. Her husband of 26 years, Ed, is a Democrat, and they don't see eye to eye on January 6th.
For me, it was a show of support, patriotism, love.
That was an actual live broadcast, and I know what I saw. I saw people breaking into the Capitol building, attacking officers.
Tracy said she didn't go inside the Capitol. Both were upset by the violence that day. And while they're miles apart on what happened on January 6th, they both share fears about what could happen after this election.
There's going to be trouble either way, whether he wins or loses.
Before I left, I showed Tracy that moment where our paths first crossed.
No, nobody should attack anyone for doing their job, for, speaking their mind, for reporting the news. So, yeah, I would say I was wrong.
As for Tracy and Ed, they may be on two sides of a political divide, but they say their marriage is solid.
Family comes first, and then politics. All we can do is vote for who we think needs to be in that job and hope for the best. And may the better man or woman win.
The question is how long that will take and what happens after a winner is declared. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
That was an interesting story, revisiting January 6th, and something very satisfying about getting an apology like that.
Exactly. And Katie Nicholson is also from Newfoundland and Labrador, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Mount Pearl, I believe.
The home of the great Carolyn Stokes as well. Anyways.
Mount Pearl girl.
Mount Pearl girl, did you have the curl? Is I think what everybody.
Of course I did.
Girl, if we could see pictures, that would be amazing. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the weather.
Yes, the long-range forecast. It was really nice and warm today. Is it gonna?
No, it's not. No, actually, in a word, no, it's not. It's not. So this is what we're looking at. So we're gonna have a lot of rain to get to the niceness. But as you can see, this is sort of the long-range forecast, the future tracker, whatever we want to call it, or. So that's a look. As you can see, slowly as it's going to be wet up until we get into Friday, and you can sort of see now it starts to, it'll clear off sort of as you get into there, but you can see the sunshine is going to come out in Labrador on Thursday, and then it's going to get a little bit better for the rest of the island as well. But you're going to start to see this, flurries falling in Labrador West, and in Happy Valley Goose Bay as well, and parts of northern Labrador as well. But that is par for the course for this time of year. So as you can see, this is what we're talking about. Basically, with the exception of St. John's and Marystown, we're looking at single digits across the province on Thursday. Few rain icons, but mainly just showers. No real accumulation yet, but that can change. It can always change. The weather is always moving. The weather is very fluid, apparently. So now this is what I'm talking about. So just take a look at this. So this is Thursday. So you can see that this is all the rain that's going to bring all the rain to the west coast the next couple of days. And it's going to bring some, so the pink there is that mix, that rain-snow mix. You can just see it right here in case I didn't have to tell you that. But anyways, you can see now this is slowly going to move out. So this is what we're hoping for. So Friday morning and it'll sort of, hopefully Friday evening, and maybe should stick around into the weekend. But this is what we're hoping for, and this is what we're looking for, as you can see, all across the province. You heard it here first. Sun, rain, sun showers. So we're going to see the temperatures, they're also going to start to warm up as we head into the weekend. So as we were talking about, Labrador City could hit -7 tonight with the wind chill, but it is going to warm up. Still single digits, but not too bad for mid to late October. Now let's just take a quick look at your 5-day forecast. As I said, you can see as we go further on into the week, the temperatures get like a Creed song, take me higher. So as you can see, then we go into central Newfoundland. You're going to see a dip there on Friday, but overnight, but the daytime temperatures are pretty high as well. So double digits there in the weekend. So it's shaping up to be a nice weekend. And I'll take full credit for that all across the province. And then we'll click on up here as we get into Labrador, the same thing as well. Look at those, little less sun there in Labrador West, but 14 degrees, you can't complain. And take a look at this photograph.
Oh, beautiful.
Look at this photograph. Creed and Nickelback in the same weather segment. You can't pay for this sort of entertainment, folks. So this is a place called Piper's Hole.
Okay.
And it was taken by Gordon Watkins, and we've learned a lot about Piper Hole in the last little bit,
Yes,
haven't we?
this is in Swift Current, so there's some legends around this location.
Bridge was built in 1939, as I just read on the World Wide Web, and it's one of the oldest bridges in the province. This is pre-Confederation infrastructure. It was a provincial park, turned into a private park, and I think now an abandoned park.
Yeah.
Popular swimming hole, though.
Yeah, and
Beautiful
there's
photo.
some story about its the naming of Piper's Hole coming from a piper in a French garrison or something like that.
It is old.
Interesting. Yeah,
Tell you
it's a great photo. Thank you so much for sending it. I love the fall colors on the trees too. It's beautiful.
Certainly is. And if you have any other photos, send it into nlphotos@cbc.ca or find Ashley on Facebook. That's it for me.
Yeah,
You
me
wanna
too.
You want to say goodbye?
Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.